Imagine stepping through the gates of Magic Kingdom. Your ears catch the distant hum of a parade, and suddenly Snow White herself appears around the corner. But have you ever wondered what it takes to make that moment so convincing? After years of digging into cast members' manuals, hanging out with the ex-princesses, and exploring every corner of Disney parks, I've uncovered the insider rules that keep the fantasy alive. This isn't another list of obvious tips. We're pulling back the curtain on 8 real policies that Disney princess performers must follow to maintain the magic. We'll go through 8 quick but fascinating rules, starting with the one most new performers mess up on their first day, and if you miss even one of these, you could unknowingly spoil the illusion for the kids around you. Ready? Let's dive in. Rule 1. Protect the magic and never break character. The first and foremost important rule is simple, in theory, but surprisingly hard in practice. Once you're on stage, you are that character. Disney trains its face characters to never acknowledge their real identity and stay completely true to their character's persona. That means everything from the way they speak to the topics they're willing to discuss. Former Merida performers have told me that if you ask them about airplanes or Wi-Fi, they'll cock their head and joke about not knowing those strange contraptions, because a 10th century Scottish princess wouldn't know what a smartphone is. They even refer to themselves as friends of the character rather than actors. Staying in character extends beyond your shift. Explore.com notes that character performers are expected to maintain the reputation of the company even off the clock. From avoiding profanity in public to using common sense social media habits so that videos don't end up online that could tarnish the magic. The Travel points out that cast members are forbidden from blabbing about which role they play. To preserve the mystique, they say they're friends with Belle rather than I play Belle. When I asked a friend who portrayed Ariel about her weekend plans, she lightheartedly reminded me that mermaids don't exactly drive cars. It's a mental shift that can feel awkward at first, but becomes second nature. Not only must performers speak and behave as their character, they also have to act like nothing outside the Disney universe exists while they're on stage. The Travel notes that characters are trained to act confused if you ask about Hogwarts houses or fast food chains. It might sound silly, but this rule protects young imaginations. It also means that you'll often get witty in-universe answers when you try to trip them up. Next time you meet Cinderella, try asking what her favorite video game is. She might say something like, "Is that a new kind of slipper?" Another part of staying in character involves learning Disney Secret's cast member language. Explore.com reveals that cast members use coded phrases like Signal 25 for a fire emergency and Code V when a guest has been ill, like Ralph. These phrases might sound silly, but they prevent small ears from overhearing something that could snap them back into reality. Chances are you might not even hear the princess say these codes, but maybe their handler. It's a constant reminder that onstage life is a performance, and backstage life is hidden behind the curtain. Rule 2. Meet the height and appearance requirements. Bringing princesses to life requires more than acting chops. Disney is obsessive about consistency, and that starts with physical measurements. According to the Disney Park Nerds Guide, most Disney princesses must fall between 5'3" and 5'7". Tinkerbell performers are shorter, about 4'11" to 5'2", while characters like Gaston require actors at least 6 feet tall. During auditions, casting directors will measure you without your shoes on. If you're even half an inch outside the range, you'll be considered for a different role. Height, however, is just the starting point. Appearance guidelines, sometimes called the Disney look, are equally strict. Attractions magazine reports that Disney updated its standards in 2021 to allow small visible tattoos and gender-inclusive hairstyles for regular cast members. But the article explicitly notes that costumed characters like Cinderella still can't show tattoos. Fingernails must be well maintained and painted in a single color or French manicure style, and hair color has to be naturally occurring, so no neon pink or mermaid highlights on a real mermaid. The Travel adds that visible tattoos and body piercings beyond a single pair of earrings are off limits for performers. If you're dreaming of portraying Belle, your favorite nose ring will have to stay at home. These rules might sound superficial, but they ensure that every visitor sees a consistent version of the character, no matter which park they visit. When I first learned that performers are remeasured multiple times during auditions, I thought it was overkill. But after watching a 6'2" Ariel in a community production look nothing like the Tiny Mermaid kids know, I understood why the company is so picky. Height and costume consistency also mean performers need a physique that matches the costume. There are no published weight limits, but gowns and armor are designed to fit within certain measurements. Although the updated Disney look allows small tattoos and inclusive styles for non-costume staff, princess performers still undergo elaborate hair, makeup, and tiara prep every morning to match the animated look. Rule 3. Train for multiple roles and be ready to sub in. Once you've nailed the look and the voice, Disney isn't done with you. Character actors rarely play just one role. Explore.com explains that during auditions, performers train for multiple characters, and it's common for a princess to also be scheduled as a fur character like Minnie or Daisy. The expectation is that you can slip on a different wig or even a full headpiece at a moment's notice when someone calls in sick. Disney also keeps a roster of spares, performers who hang out backstage ready to jump into any role at any time. On slower days, spares might spend most of their shift playing games or chatting with colleagues, but when a performer sprains an ankle, the spare is the one who saves the show. This cross-training means you could be Snow White in the morning, a spare for Rapunzel after lunch, and a fur character like Pluto for a parade at night. Friends of mine who have done this say it keeps the job exciting, but also requires you to memorize multiple scripts, meet and greet patterns, and autographs. More on that soon. Being a Disney princess is physically demanding. Some days you're in full makeup, a corseted ball gown, and a 90-degree Florida afternoon. On other days, you're inside a fur costume with limited vision and have to communicate solely through gestures. Training ensures that performers can switch between these extremes gracefully and safely. It's a juggling act, but cross-trained performers are the unsung heroes who keep character schedules on track. And this is where the rules start getting even more interesting, because so far we've talked about how Disney princesses look, speak, and stay in character. But next, we're getting into the tiny details guests almost never notice. The signature they have to perfect, the hand gesture they're trained to use, and the surprisingly elegant way they help keep Disney clean without ever breaking the spell. Rule 4. Perfect the autograph. Autograph books are an iconic part of a Disney vacation. When a little girl hands her book to Cinderella, she expects a flourish identical to the signature she saw at breakfast with Belle. That consistency doesn't happen by chance. Performers spend hours learning and practicing each character's unique signature. Explore.com notes that cast members must memorize the font style and writing method required for their character. The travel adds that signing autographs is such a big part of the job that characters must produce 10 nearly identical signatures in a row. A Mickey autograph today will match one you got a decade ago, down to the loop on the Y. When a new cast member transitions into a princess role, they're given a stack of sample signatures to trace. They practice until muscle memory kicks in and their hand automatically curls the tail on Jasmine's J just right. It's almost calligraphy training. I once watched an off-duty performer doodle their character's autograph absent-mindedly on a napkin. It had become second nature. If you ever wondered why characters rarely misspell names, it's because they're too busy writing the same signature over and over. This rule also ensures that guests' keepsakes remain timeless. A mismatched or sloppy signature could break the illusion for a child who compares autographs in the family scrapbook. So the next time Belle flips open your book and signs with that perfect flourish, know that she practiced hundreds of times to get it right. Practice sessions leave hands sore. Performers build wrist stamina signing book after book. Some add character-specific flourishes. Tiana dots her eyes with a lily pad. Rapunzel's Z resembles a lock of hair, turning simple autographs into cherished details. Rule 5. Use the famous Disney point. Pointing with one finger might be normal in everyday life, but not in the park. Walt Disney noticed that in some cultures, pointing with a single finger is considered rude. To avoid any unintended offense, cast members are trained to use two fingers or an open hand when giving directions. This Disney point has become so iconic that you'll see it in promotional photos and parades. Enchanted Insider's 2026 Guide to Disneyland Secrets notes that the two-finger point is still taught in training as a sign of courtesy. Watch closely next time you ask a cast member where Pirates of the Caribbean is. They'll likely extend two fingers together and arc their arm gracefully. The simple gesture reflects the park's commitment to respect and cross-cultural understanding and is one of those subtle details that guests subconsciously register as part of the Disney feel. Performers practice pointing while staying in character too. A regal princess might point elegantly with a small hand motion, while a more energetic character like Rapunzel might use a wider sweep. These nuances show that even the tiniest movements are choreographed to reinforce the story. Trainees rehearse with a two-finger point and open hand points until the motions feel natural, and guests sometimes adopt the gesture themselves. It's a tiny courtesy that spreads delight. Rule 6. Keep the park spotless without breaking character. Cleanliness is part of the Disney magic. Walt Disney insisted that no guest should be more than 30 steps from a trash can, yet stray napkins still blow across Main Street. Every cast member, including princesses, is expected to help pick up trash. But they can't just bend down and scoop up wrappers like a normal person. The Explorer article describes the swoop and scoop method. Performers elegantly swoop down, pick up the trash, and drop it into a can while strolling. It's designed to look like part of their walk and to preserve the immersive atmosphere. The rule also applies to rolls. The travel emphasizes that cast members must keep trash out of sight and may not be seen eating on the job. So if you see Belle gracefully swishing her skirt and suddenly scooping something off the ground, she's not performing a dance move, she's secretly keeping the pathway clear. It's a clever combination of guest service and stagecraft that ensures even mundane tasks maintain the illusion. We just came through the rules that make the performance look seamless. The autograph, the Disney point, and even the graceful way a princess can help keep the park clean. Now, we're entering the part of the list where the rules stop feeling like performance details and start feeling surprisingly emotional. Because the final rules are about protecting people, especially kids. We're talking hugs, babies, personal space, and the one phrase a Disney princess is never supposed to say. Rule 7. Master the art of hugs and hands. Disney characters are pros at physical interaction, and there are specific safety and courtesy rules to follow. One of the sweetest guidelines is that princesses will never end a hug before the child they're hugging does. Explore.com explains that this practice creates magical moments. Kids sometimes hold on for dear life, and the performer will patiently wait until they release. A HuffPost writer even noted that she learned to savor moments with her own child by watching a princess hug. When you're next in line, watch how patiently they wait. Safety is also paramount. Because fur characters have limited visibility and bulky costumes, cast members are strictly forbidden from holding babies. The risk of dropping a child is too high, so if a parent tries to place a baby in Mickey's arms, the performer will gently decline or kneel to get the baby close to the ground. Face characters like princesses could technically hold a baby, but they follow the same policy to avoid setting inconsistent expectations. It's one of those rules that seems obvious once you think about it, but I've watched more than one parent try to hand their infant to Goofy for a photo, only to be politely redirected. Now, villains have their own rules. Explore.com notes that antagonists, such as the Evil Queen or Gaston, typically won't kneel or sit. Partly this is because their costumes make it difficult, but it also reinforces their superior attitude. In contrast, princesses are encouraged to kneel or crouch to meet kids at eye level. You'll see Belle gather her skirt and sit on the ground to have a real conversation with a shy child. These subtle body language rules ensure that the characters convey the right personality while also staying safe. When meeting guests, princesses and other face characters are guided by the 5 keys: safety, courtesy, inclusion, show, and efficiency. Inclusion was added in 2021, and Attractions magazine notes that the goal is to create an environment where all guests feel welcome. That means being sensitive to guests' needs, using inclusive language, and making eye contact. It's a lot to juggle, but performers tell me it becomes intuitive with practice. They also learn to pose gracefully. A gentle hand on a child's shoulder, asking permission before twirling, or sitting beside a shy guest until they relax. These small choices build trust and create memories. Rule 8. Never say, "I don't know." We've saved the most surprising and perhaps most relatable rule for last. Disney trains its cast members to never respond with, "I don't know." Enchanted Insider's rundown of Disneyland secrets states that if a cast member doesn't have an answer, they are required to find someone who does or escort you to someone who can help. The Travel echoes this rule, noting that saying "I don't know" is an ultimate customer service sin. A cast member must call someone else and won't leave you until your problem is resolved. For performers, this policy requires creativity. A princess can't break character by acknowledging ignorance about something that does exist in their universe. But they also can't mislead a guest. If you ask Rapunzel where the nearest restroom is and she isn't sure, she might say, "I think I saw some lanterns over this way. Let me escort you." And then find a park operations cast member to assist. Asking Belle where to meet Tiana might elicit a charming in-character line like, "Let's consult the palace staff together." Underneath, the fairy tale banter is a very practical guest service guideline. Don't leave a guest hanging. This rule extends beyond directions. Guests often ask tricky questions like, "What time does the 3 p.m. parade start?" Well, it starts at 3 p.m., but you'd be surprised how many cast members hear this. Instead of rolling their eyes, performers respond cheerily and provide helpful context like best viewing locations or when to arrive. The "never say I don't know" policy ensures that interactions stay positive and that no guest feels dismissed. Extensive orientation gives cast members encyclopedic knowledge of park layouts, schedules, and even obscure film trivia, so they rarely need to improvise when answering questions. Being a Disney princess is far more than putting on a glittery gown. These performers juggle a lot, from appearance standards, learning a calligrapher's signature, to picking up trash without breaking their stride. They do all of this while staying entirely in character and making each guest feel like the only person in the world. That dedication to detail is why the magic feels so real. By understanding these guidelines, you'll gain a new appreciation for the performer's dedication. Every rule from height to hand gestures is designed to protect the illusion and delight millions of visitors. What rule surprised you the most? Have you ever caught a princess swooping up trash or noticed the two-finger point? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into behind-the-scenes Disney, give this video a like, share it with your fellow Disney fans, and subscribe for more insider secrets. And if you're ready for another adventure, click the next video on your screen. We've got another batch of hidden details waiting for you. Your adventure is just beginning.